It's the unofficial start to Giants football OTA practice. Number 2 just wrapped up, but it's the first practice that was available to the media. Brandon London here with our New York Post Sports Giants beat writer, Paul Schwartz. We're here at Quest Diagnostics Training Camp. So practice just wrapped up. We had player media availabilities. Now it's time to talk some football, Paul. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and I guess we can start with the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Tommy DeVito, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. They all made plays in their own way, I guess. Break down what you saw from these guys.
You got to say them in the right order. Come on, this is important this year. It's important this year, right? Yeah. It used to be all those years. It was Eli Manning and whoever. Sage Rosenfeld, Derek Carr, whoever. It doesn't matter. They're not going to play anyway. The right order is Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. For now, I think the order has to be
Jackson Dart
and Tommy DeVito. That's the order, even though it is unofficial. I think fans would be surprised if they come out and be able to watch this practice like we did. It looks a lot like an early training camp. No pads, no hitting, but it's real football. This is the first time in phase 3. This is the first time where they can go out and an offense can actually go out and line up against the defense, not lining up against air. So you can't make a lot of definitive statements about this, but it's what football's supposed to be like in the spring. And first thing first, I'm used to looking at the Giants quarterbacks. Eli Manning was your height.
6'4", 6'5", yep.
Daniel Jones was, I think, probably an inch taller than you, right? Yep. Bigger than you, yep. Big. So I'm always looking like this when I'm watching the Giants quarterbacks. Now, I got to put my head down. Russell Wilson is not a big dude. He's not much bigger than me. So it just looks different because and especially when he gets down, when he gets down, he's like 5 foot tall like that. And I think he uses that. But he looked fine. We'll talk about some of the things he did. Jackson Dart looks athletic. Jameis Winston, very funny. Jameis Winston's first pass as a New York Giant in his second OTA that we saw today was intercepted by Dane Belton, the safety, who was a ball hawk. And I think it's almost like Jameis Winston, who's a 50-50 quarterback. Half the time he throws it to one team, half the time he throws it to the wrong team. It's kind of like, let's get this out of the way right away. He was fine. And Tommy DeVito really knows the offense better than anybody. He's been here, so he's a little bit of a step ahead in some ways because he knows Brian Daboll's offense.
Yeah, it's almost like when we watch as media what we've been used to watching, how sometimes the offense has gotten off to a slow start in OTAs and training camp. We were able to see comfortableness, or was it comfortability? I'm working on my journalism here.
Just comfort.
Just comfort. Just overall comfort from quarterbacks, the ones and the twos, both, because Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston were running this offense. And yeah, they're picking it up, but they're both vets in this league. Remember, Jason Garrett used to say all the time, a Hank is a Hank is a Hank. A curl flat is a curl flat is a Hank. So they're just picking up on the different terminology, but you were able to see the offense run smoothly. Guys being in the right spot, guys being able to motion, staying ahead of the chains. You saw no pre-snap penalties or anything, which is what you definitely don't want to see from a quarterback of Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson's stature. I would say Jackson Dart, everything's being thrown at him. Now you got the defense on the other side. I think his first play in 7-on-7s, they had to kind of restart the play because the motion got a little messed up. But that's expected. You're not expecting him to come in right away and everything just be perfect down to the T. But what I did get to see, Paul, and you mentioned it, his mobility. Yeah. He's a lot more athletic than what I thought during the draft process, watching film on him. And 2, the boy has a zip on the football, and he'll have his own little phrase or terminology, throwing darts in no time that day when he does take over. But one thing that I did like and love, there's a competition within that room. Everyone's auditioning when you're out here. But he and Tommy DeVito, I'm talking about Jackson Dart, we're running routes on air with the receivers and the running back. And Tommy DeVito was kind of helping, coaching Jackson Dart along on, all right, you go on this side, we'll go on this side. You throw into this guy, I'll throw it to the deeper guy. And you like to see that because then when they get in the game or they get in practice, they're able to be comfortable run a smooth offense, and now everyone, whether it's offensive line or receivers, gets to be evaluated.
Well, there's some drills where you had Jackson Dart and Tommy DeVito on one field, and the two veterans, Winston and Wilson, were back on the other field. So, we're closer to the field with the two younger guys, and they're throwing the ball, and the same drill, not against the defense. They're using two quarterbacks and two footballs. And
routes on air.
But it's not just one quarterback. It's two quarterbacks. So at that point, I think Jackson Dart, maybe he's not as familiar with that. And so Tommy DeVito was definitely like kind of at one point, okay, you come here, you go here, you move here, you move there.
Yep.
Also, when Jackson Dart was not, when there's just one quarterback, throwing, Jackson Dart was, you notice he's behind him. And at one point he's watching it behind him, and he faked the handoff. He did the handoff, and then he went he kind of pointed to where his read was. And also interesting, and this is like not teacher's pet stuff, but it's very, very often after Jackson Dart gets a rep, Brian Dable goes over and says something to him, something quick, something. You can tell that's his little pupil here, and he's kind of coaching him up almost every rep.
And it's not something to where I don't want people looking at that like, oh, well, why don't he let him cook? Why didn't he let him play? Hey, this is his guy. This is his guy. So every time there's going to be some sort of red ink on that play. You could throw a touchdown. He's going to come over and be like, hey, great throw. But remember, if that safety kind of creeps over a little bit, you've got this guy on the backside to get him ready for another rep.
And also, he could be complimenting him.
Absolutely.
He's not just saying, what did you do wrong? I like that. I like what you did. And also, this time of year from being on the field and having a father as a coach. There's so many assistant coaches out there that sometimes they just have to chirp. Yeah. You see one play happen, and the assistant special teams coach will just rip off a curse at somebody, or somebody says, we got to get back to that. They all got to earn their money now. So that if everyone's quiet after every snap, after every rep, they aren't doing their job. At some point, it's almost like, all right, inside linebacker coach, yell something.
We call those rah-rah guys and rah-rah coaches, and you got your X's and O's guys, your analytics guys, and then you have your rah-rah guys. But let's get into the on-field competition part, because they started off with the 7-on-7, and then they had a couple team periods. I thought Russell Wilson looked smooth, man. Again, he's picking up this playbook just like anyone else, but just being able to watch him back there, and he's looking, all right, read run, read two, it's not there. He'll flip his hips, and he'll go over to the backside. That's a guy, again, I've been around. There's nothing new that you're going to throw to me. Just got to learn the terminology. He was able, one thing that was impressive to me was he and Darius Slayton didn't connect in 7-on-7s on a rub route type concept, but then they connected during teams. So that goes to show there's some continuity and there's some chemistry being built there. Darius Slayton caught a touchdown pass from Jameis Winston in a tight window when Jameis Winston was kind of getting out the pocket a lot. We saw a lot of movement because they were working the tight red zone, which is a place where they struggled last season to put up points. So you saw a lot of movements, different misdirections, and trying to get these quarterbacks out of the pockets. But all in all, good day. Jalen Hyatt scored a touchdown. You're getting able to evaluate these receivers and running backs, and that's because you're getting solid quarterback play. Again, it's only day one that we've been able to watch, but at least it's something to build on, Paul.
Well, look, Jalen Hyatt caught one in the back of the end zone, but this is Jalen Hyatt's time, right? He's Mr. Spring, and then some fault of his own, obviously, and the fact that the coaches couldn't get him on the field or there were guys ahead of him. This is a monstrously big year for Jalen Hyatt. I mean, I was shocked how his career has just not taken off. I mean, it's in slow motion. It's not there. So that's one thing. Also, I cannot get, you mentioned Darius Slayton. I cannot get used to him wearing number 18. 3 times I had to check my roster and say, oh, that's a nice completion. Oh yeah, it's Slayton, right? And I know look, you're Mr. Fashion and Mr. Numbers, and everything has to look good. I mean, you couldn't take him wearing 86. I get it. He looks fine. 18 is okay with you?
18, I am all in on 18. And yeah, it took me a little bit to be like, who's the new guy? But once he puts that speed on tape, you're like, oh, that's Slim Slay right there.
Should be a big, bulky, blocking tight end, right? Yeah. Right. That should be not a sleek receiver like Darius.
Mike Matthews from back in my day. He was 88, but 86 gives me Mike Matthews vibes. But again, we were able to see, all jokes aside, we were able to to kind of evaluate, look at these wide receivers and make plays. Dante Turbo Miller caught a touchdown as well. So you saw a lot of like misdirections and guys trying to get running backs and receivers to outflank, contain players on defense. Again, working that tight red zone, and then if it's not there, guys are able to use their feet and to make a play. Saw that with Jackson Dart as well. And one thing I liked about him early, when you read reports, it may be like, oh, he's 10 for 15 on the day or 10 or 17, but there were a couple throwaways, and we love to see that from a rookie, especially there in the tight red zone, because you want to end that drive with some sort of kick, whether it be a field goal or a extra point. On the defensive side of things, you mentioned Dane Belton with the interception. He's a guy that's always around the football when he gets in the game, but we got a chance to see Paulson Adebo, who's coming off that injury. We got a chance to see him. I like the way he moves. He's a lot taller than I expected, and I think he is going to be a great one for this Giants defense in that secondary.
Well, he was a big ticket free agent. They signed him and Javon Holland. They gave them both a lot of money, to walk in and start right away. Paulson Adebo's coming off a broken leg, so it's good to see that he's out here and participating. Some of these guys, Dexter Lawrence, elbow, he's not going to participate. Malik Neighbors, they're dealing with a little toe thing, which he's had last year. No reason to put him out there. So the fact that Adebo can get out there, that means it's healed and it's fine. The one guy, yes, I'm looking at the new guys because I don't know them and I want to see what they can do. But I'm really looking at the new number 2, right? Deonte Banks is wearing number 2. He wore number 3 last year. Russell Wilson comes in and says, I want to wear number 3. So Deonte Banks is a first-round pick, doesn't need the money, but he got money. He got something from Russell Wilson to get that number 2. But look, you want to list 5 guys who I think, it's all right there for, and they have to be proving it this spring and summer. Deonte Banks might be top of the list. Maybe Evan Neal. Deonte Banks maybe even more so, because he had a promising rookie year, first-round pick from Maryland. Last year was bad. Bad football, bad effort. Just bad, not good, And I like what Bobby Okereke said to us today. We were talking to him about Paulson Adebo, and he was asked, does the fact that you have this veteran cornerback, Paulson Adebo, does that take some of the pressure off Deonte Banks? And Bobby Okereke looked right at us and said, we don't need to take any pressure off Deonte Banks, And he's right. He's a first-round pick. He's what is he, 23, 24 years old? He's a young guy. The pressure's on him. I understand, maybe the pressure of not lining up against the number 1 receiver. First game of the season, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. You tell me that's an easy matchup, right? Absolutely. Second game of the season, it's Pickett now, right? Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. You tell me. They play the Eagles, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. So there's no easy pickings out there. He's a first-round pick. You got to line up against a top guy. It's a very, very, I'll say 3 varies, big year for Deonte Banks. And I'm glad that they're not, look, you got to go in there, you got to play better.
Yeah, I'm glad that the reports and these guys are talking about his mindset coming into this year. Drew Phillips said he's kind of like came in hungrier, and then you hear Bobby Okereke kind of vouching for him. Look, it's just one of those years where it's great that we're hearing this. We're off to a great start when it comes back to his comeback season, but it's something that we're going to need to see on the field. And I think that he can't wait to be able to show this new attitude, this right frame of mind on the field and to the Giants fans. Javon Holland got a chance to kind of speak to the media. He was talking about his leadership, getting guys lined up. You love to see it. You love to hear it right away, because it's a Giants secondary that struggled last year, and they've gotten a little bit older and mature, but older in a good way, because I feel as though they'll be able to handle a lot of adversity this year, especially with the guys that they brought in. I wish we could give you guys more when it came to pass rush and who had how many sacks. Sorry, it just doesn't happen like that. These guys are wearing what you're wearing right now, just shorts and a T-shirt with their helmets. We will say Evan Neal did get reps today at guard. Did you get a chance to see him bend, break, or burst in his, I guess, new position almost?
No, it's not. I guess it's a new position. I mean, I don't think he's going to take reps at tackle. They signed Hudson and they signed Stone Forsythe to be backup tackles. He's not going to be like, he's going to try. He's a guard. Now, he lined up at left guard today, which is not open. That's John Runyon's spot, and John Runyon is not practicing because he's coming off surgery, ankle surgery, I believe. So, they were kind of mixing and matching. Andrew Thomas is coming off an injury, so he didn't line up in any team drills. So you had kind of a funky. You had, I think, Josh Azudo at left tackle, which fans don't want to see, and I don't think the Giants want to see that either. But left tackle, and they had Neal at left guard. So. Look, it's a big year for Evan Neal. It's a big year. He basically was a non-playing member of the roster last year because he played and then he got hurt and then he was not good. So this is a new position for him. They would love for him to follow the Mekhi Becton first-round failure with the Jets, who went to the Eagles and played well, won a Super Bowl, blocked for Saquon Barkley, had studs around him. It's not the same offensive line here. Had studs around him, and I think it got $10 million a year to go play for the Chargers. So, they'd like to have Evan Neal be here, win the right guard spot. Now, that's Greg Van Roten's spot. Greg Van Roten played every snap last year at age 35, which was amazing. They re-signed him. Now, Greg Van Roten, if you would ask the coaches and the GMs, the GM and the front office people, they would say, ideally, Greg Van Roten is here to be a backup guard and a backup center. $3.5 million, perfect. He can come in a dime, but right now he's going to be the starting right guard until Evan Neal or somebody else can prove that they are better than him. We'll see.
Still a lot of football to be played. You got a lot to evaluate, not only the talent for the roster, but then how to put together a team and then identifying who are your guys, who are your playmakers, and who's going to be your core special teamers. That's a wrap on practice. That's a wrap on the post-practice report for the Post. For Paul Schwartz, I'm Brandon London. Thanks for watching Blue Rush.